Good afternoon to you, wherever you are in the world, and welcome to our conversation on this beautiful day in Santa Barbara, California. I'm host and coach Bettina Brandt. I offer support to live life more fully with greater purpose, meaning, joy, and fulfillment. The easiest place to find me is bettinabrandt.site. And joining me today to talk about 4 myths and faulty beliefs we live by is from Sebastopol, California, Dr. Ofer, founder of the Zohar Institute and Project Insights, where he's also director. Dr. Zohar is a licensed psychotherapist, ethics consultant, expert witness, teacher, writer, speaker, and of course, adventurer and critical thinker. Welcome, Dr. Zohar.
Thank you so much for the nice introduction.
Thank you for being here. So we're going to talk today about the 4 topics that we discussed regarding instinct, affairs, death, and victims. And the first of the 4 myths is, when in doubt, follow and trust your instincts.
So it's myth, or we can call it faulty beliefs, whatever it kind of fits better. And the first one, as you said, when in doubt, follow your trust or your instinct. And this is kind of a mythology, kind of romantic mythology, that our instinct are really what keeps us alive. It reminds me, the best example for me for that, it's a little bit extreme, but it's applied to everyday life, is when I was in the war and we were in the open desert and the bombs were falling. Our instinct as soldiers were to run away from the last ditch, from the last crater created by the bomb, the latest bomb, as far as we can. While this was our instinct, the critical thinking of us, the logical thinking, will jump into the crater created by the last bomb, because bombs never fall in the same place. So, and I remember standing there in a junction ready to run, but made myself and my soldiers jump into the crater, and here I am to tell the story. So, but this is many application for that, as you kind of, Bettina, you know so well yourself.
Yeah, I mean, oftentimes we're misguided on some level by assuming that our instincts are going to guide us in the right direction. Sometimes we take that a little too far. We might not be able to redirect our attention to keep on track with where we really should be going, and using our a different logic. Yeah.
So this is kind of easy one, and we want the listener to think about the instinct in a junction, the instinct versus logic. And there can be so many examples about when you drive your bicycle, you drive your car, your child crawl towards the fire. The instinct is to protect them. You know, what I did with my children, as you and I discussed before, is I let them kind of touch the fire a little bit, and they did that, but they learned. It took one time. But if I continue to protect them, which was my instinct, they wouldn't learn about getting burned. So we have a lot of instincts like that in life, that the little burn can teach them a lot. So we can have millions examples of that, but I think people get a sense of that.
Sure. And I mean, it's the difference between responding and reacting as well, right?
Yeah, beautiful said.
Easy as a parent to react to the fear of what might happen, and instead of allowing their children to explore their own boundaries, which we all need. So, okay, then we'll go into the second topic, which is marital affairs are rare and always signify that the marriage is in trouble.
That's a big one. It's kind of, there's a big belief that affair inevitably destroys a marriage. The fact that most marriages survive affairs, and if both partners are committed to their relationship, they can learn from an affair. So many times as a therapist, I ask sometimes the partner, what did the partner who had an affair? So I'll ask her, what did the affair kind of fulfill for you that you don't get in the marriage? And
Mm-hmm.
and I asked the partner to listen to her carefully, because what she said that she loves about her partner, the affair partner, is what she's missing in the marriage. It doesn't work the other way around as well, but at least it works in this direction. Another kind of infidelity is rare. It's another mythology that we have, and we said that only 3% of the world's 4,000 species are
Mm-hmm.
monogamous for life. So let's put it in good perspective. Monogamy in the animal kingdom is also very rare, and even we have the Hallmark cards with images of doves and swans, and neither of them are monogamous, but flatworms are, by the way. So if it makes kind of so, monogamy is not that rare. We talk about internet culture, where people have texting and it moved to sexting and all kind of things that happen on the internet, which create just much larger sense of what affairs included. So when you have an affair, it's not necessarily the end of the marriage. Another myth around the affair, that men are initiated more affairs than women. It used to be like that. It's kind of equal opportunity now, this day and age.
Mm-hmm.
So and its affairs do not always mean that there is kind of big problem with a marriage. I work with some businessmen or businesswomen, and they go on the trip and they have an affair, and they come home, and actually it revitalizes sometimes the marriage, and sometimes it is an indication of something very serious, that the marriage may not last, or you need to go to therapy or whatever it is. So kind of open our heart that not always affairs are indication that the marriage is in trouble.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think, yeah. I mean, the flip side to that is, what is the agreement? What is it that you want out of the relationship before you ever start the relationship? Who is the person on the other side of that relationship? Um, I think most people don't get into marriages expecting to cheat, expecting to, experience infidelity. But if that's of value to you, you don't have an open relationship, and it's important to you that each party's loyal, then that obviously needs to be a discussion. There has to be a level of awareness.
Not
And
necessarily. When I work with couples, there
mm-hmm,
was many situations where don't tell was much more effective in relationship to the marriage. So
mm-hmm,
she's flying back to New York. She's having an affair. She feels her femininity coming up, and she expresses it with her husband. He's not sure why is that she's now all over him. So it's really we the instinct is what you kind of were saying right now. The instinct is really, honesty. It's the best policy, not
but
necessarily.
I was talking about before the marriage. I was
Uh,
talking about, yeah, I wasn't talking about after you've had,
okay.
after the infidelities happened. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about before you ever get married.
Yeah.
If one of the two believes in a more open, relationship or something like that, obviously that should be a part of the conversation before you ever make a commitment and marry somebody. If you have no interest or intention or tolerance, I guess, for anything outside of that, that should be a part of the discussion.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. So it's good that we have this conversation, that it shows to the listener that there is so many ways to look at that, and so
Mm-hmm.
many ways to sustain marriage. With 30 years of doing couple therapy, I've seen it all.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm still talking about before we're married.
yeah, before, during, or after,
Yeah,
it's like it's okay for us to disagree, because this is the whole point, is
sure.
not one way fits all, and
Exactly.
before or during the marriage. So this is kind of, we can talk about this issue kind of forever and ever, and
For hours. Yeah.
yeah, for hours. But again, with the internet, it's a brave new world. Okay, next
Yeah,
one.
slippery new world.
No, it's not slippery always.
For some people, it can be.
It can
Okay.
be, yeah.
So number 3, death is a failure to be avoided at all costs.
Oh, this culture, I can talk about this one too for hours and hours.
Yeah.
On my mother's grave, we wrote, "Trees die erect." She did not want to go down. She died 2 months before her forced retirement from university. She was a professor in psychology.
Mm-hmm.
What I like that tells me the most about dying in this culture, and we have the Eskimo, the Alaskan Eskimo tale. And the tale says that when you are old enough, and as an Eskimo, you walk on the ice. You walk on the ice when you don't contribute anymore to the village and you are burdened to the village. And then the bears, the white bears, will eat you. Sounds terrible, but wait for the story. They eat you so the young ones can hunt big, healthy bears.
Mm-hmm.
In this culture, the old ones eating the bear. 50% plus are spent in the last couple of years of people's life here on medical cost, which depletes the younger generation. So in our culture, with the fear of death and all the things that we, people 2-3 years in unconsciousness, semi-unconsciousness in bed, eating the bear, which hurts the younger generation. So this tale, even though it's an old tale and many Eskimos haven't heard about it themselves, but it beautifully captures the idea about how we are hurting our next generation with our death avoidance.
It's definitely a topic that people avoid in this culture. In fact, I would say a lot of people even avoid living until they're nearly ready to die, waiting until retirement to fully live their lives, that, there's some end to, there's some end to being responsible and putting money away, and someday I'll be able to do that. I'll be able to follow my dream. I'm going to live my purpose. I'm going to travel to here, there, and everywhere, not fully living while they can.
And by the time they retire, they are 1 foot in the grave.
Exactly. Yeah. And
yeah, beautifully said.
Yeah.
Well, rethinking, and what's important for us in this conversation, that death is not a failure. And to hold the idea that you will die when you are in your 30s and 40s and 50, and what do you want to do before you die? And you don't wait until you are retired at 65 or 68, whatever it is. So death is not a failure. And many cultures celebrating death in a so much better way that we kind of try to avoid it by all costs. Now, we do have hospice, and we do have some better institution right now that honor it more. But as a culture in the West, death is a failure, and we need to really change this myth, because it hurts us and hurts the next generation in a big way.
Fear-driven, and oftentimes I experienced in my own family a difficult experience with even celebrating the loved one after they passed. Revisiting that person's memory and bringing it into the now after they're gone is a beautiful thing.
It is.
We don't want to forget. Why, why do we have to? Why are we forced into forgetting, letting those memories fade completely? I think a lot of us really struggle with that as well.
Yeah, I won't get into it, but as you know, I'm planning a big celebration before.
Get into it. At
my
least just for a moment.
we
It's
don't,
so
we don't have
beautiful.
much time, but I would like to celebrate before I die. I don't want to go slow down. I want to go to my mom, like, trees die erect, and I've been all around from Zambia to Africa to Kenya, blah blah blah, and I'm going to Mongolia, and I'll be ready to die after that. I'm not afraid of it, and
Mhm.
in my book, it's not a failure. It's
Mm.
of my loved ones, but this is
Yeah.
kind of my take on that. Death is not a failure.
Yeah.
Okay, the next one, last one.
Number 4, don't blame the victim. All victims are 100% innocent.
Oh, ouch. That's a big one. This is as politically incorrect as it gets. Kids who are being abused physically or sexually are 100% innocent. We need to be clear of that. However, when a woman continues to marry an abusers who abuse her, and then they go to prison, as they should go,
Mm-hmm.
and she marry another one who will break her nose and give her a black eye, she is not innocent as a child, as a young
Mm-hmm.
child. She
Mm-hmm.
will not marry anybody who will not hurt her. This is because somebody confused for her love and violence when she was little. So the whole idea, don't blame the victim, is complex. I don't want to blame this woman who continued to marry an abusers, but I would like her, when she go to the shelter, for the women to start working with her. Why wouldn't she marry anybody who will not break her nose?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So her identity as a victim. There's many, many examples of that.
Mm-hmm.
And so putting him in prison does not help her.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a whole list of people who are not innocent, like young children who are being abused, women who are being raped by a stranger. So all these are clearly innocent victims, all the way to people who are in prison for murdering. But even then, when they were little, they were zero responsible, and they got violated. And now, as an adult, they're 100% responsible.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody who was not responsible as a child become fully responsible as an adult. So it's very complex. So we need to move away from don't blame the victim to understand compassionately what happened with victim and victimizers.
Mm-hmm. I think
That's a
the
topic.
immediate challenge with that statement is the word blame.
Yeah.
Now, if it were the word responsibility somehow, I don't know. Ultimately, once we get to a certain age where we have enough awareness and knowledge of what our
Should
past
have should have enough awareness and knowledge. Yeah.
should, sure, we need to take responsibility for changing our circumstances, or we will go through the same cycle and pattern over and over again. And it's an interesting thing to go through life and get to 40 or 50 or who knows, 60, and look back and see the patterns that have followed you through your own life.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
So,
So rethinking the myth of don't blame the victims. This is our fourth one. We
mm-hmm.
have many more, but we focus on some of the most controversial today.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you,
Thank
Bettina.
you.
You are incredible. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate you, your time, your friendship, and I hope we get to have some more conversations.
We have more conversation, and you patients are lucky to have you as their coach. So
Thank you.
it's fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You're an excellent teacher, mentor, model. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.